Beyond the gate, spoilers tease that when Haley storms into the grand drawing room of the Whitmore estate, her fists trembling with righteous fury, the very walls will quake under the force of her indignation. The opulent chandeliers cast fractured light across the polished marble floor, glinting like shards of shattered trust that Bill had cruelly dismantled with one unthinkable secret. For years, Haley believed that Eva was her daughter, born of love and whispered lullabies in the nursery at dawn. But this night, in a confrontation charged with betrayal's electricity, Haley slaps Bill across the face, the echo of her outrage reverberating through the halls as the guests gasp in stunned silence. His smug smile falters for the first time in decades, and as he steadies himself against the mantel, he knows that his most carefully buried deception has exploded into daylight. Haley's hands shake as she presses her palm to her cheek, half in pain, half to still the rush of emotion coursing through her veins. "How could you?" she demands, her voice a whip-crack of hurt and anger. "You stole our child and gave her away to some stranger." The words tremor like a dying star's final pulse, heavy with grief for the years she can never reclaim. Bill's tailored suit seems suddenly grotesque, a costume for the villain who slid behind her husband's mask. His eyes narrow, the practiced calm of a man accustomed to orchestrating family dramas, giving way to the flicker of genuine unease. "Haley, you must understand," he begins, but she cuts him off. "Understand?" Haley spits, stepping forward so that only the space between them contains her fury. "You replaced our baby with someone else's. You lied about her blood, her soul, everything." Her voice breaks as tears blur her vision, but she stands unbowed, the embodiment of a mother's rage at a betrayal beyond measure. At that moment, the name Eva echoes through her mind, not as the child she raised, but as the living testament to Bill's treachery, a daughter she never bore. Bill's jaw tightens as he stares at Haley's despair. Around them, the remnants of the weekend gala lie abandoned, half-empty champagne flutes, wilted floral arrangements, and the hushed whispers of guests who linger in doorways, afraid to intervene. The Whitmore lineage, long renowned for its stature and respectability, is now teetering on the brink of scandal. Bill straightens his shoulders, as though summoning the authority he wielded for decades, and forces his voice to calm. "There are things you still don't know," he says, each syllable measured. "But understand this. I did what I believed was necessary to protect you, to protect our family." Haley's chest heaves. The concept of protection burns like ice in her lungs. "Protect me," she echoes, voice low and savage. "You traded my daughter for another. You call that protection?" The question hangs between them like a guillotine's blade, poised to sever every remaining tie. Bill swallows hard, his composure fraying. He glances toward the grand staircase, where Eva, her delicate profile framed in the moonlight streaming through stained glass, stands trembling at the banister. Her pale face is a mask of confusion, eyes wide with that heartbreaking innocence no child should bear when the foundations of their world collapse. Eva's shoulders slump as she realizes her mother's distress. The years of Sunday suppers and bedtime stories flicker through her mind, memories now tainted by the secret she never knew. Bill steps toward her, reaching out, but Haley flares between them, voice raw as silk torn by grief. "Don't you dare," she hisses. The distance between mother and daughter feels vast as an ocean in that charged moment, and Haley's heart cracks under the weight of stolen moments and unspoken truths. Bill clears his throat and turns back to Haley, drawing a breath as though to launch into a practiced defense. "Eva is not your biological child," he admits, the words tumbling out like ignoble confessions. "I discovered that the woman I thought was sterile," he falters as Haley's hand rises again, but he steels himself to finish, "was fertile. And I took measures when I learned your pregnancy would endanger you both." His explanation falls flat against the blank walls of betrayal. "Measures?" Haley's mind reels at his euphemism, searching for the phrase that captures his cold calculation. You switched our blood tests, Our doctor's reports, she accuses, voice shaking. You swapped our baby for another woman's newborn. Confusion and outrage war within her as Bill unfolds the layers of his conspiracy. He recounts with chilling calm how, believing Haley's fragile health threatened by complications, he enlisted a surrogate scheme under false pretenses, a woman who miscarried shortly after delivery and whose identity he concealed. When that child, a living, breathing infant, was born, Bill had doctored the DNA results, insisting the baby was Haley's reborn strength. Haley listens, horror-struck, as he describes the invoices, the back-channel payoffs to the nurse who facilitated the neonatal switch, the falsified adoption paperwork. Like a man reading from a ledger, he catalogs his sins, each one a dagger twisting further into Haley's heart. Haley's knees weaken, and she grasps the back of a velvet settee for support. How could the man she loved, the father of her children, harbor such darkness? The traitor who had sworn fealty at their wedding now stood revealed as an architect of her greatest loss. Tears stream down her cheeks as she fights to maintain equilibrium. My baby, she whispers, voice void of strength. My baby is out there, in the arms of another woman. While I raised this, her gaze flies to Eva, still at the top of the stairs, clutching the banister so tightly her knuckles whiten. The child's innocence drips through the tension-choked air, magnifying Haley's agony. Bill lifts his hand, stepping toward Haley as though to bridge the chasm he created. I tried to save you, he pleads, voice scarcely more than a breath. I thought if I could secure a healthy child, spare you the heartbreak, the risk, but his words collapse beneath their own gravity. Spare me. Haley's laugh is a ragged, broken thing. You robbed me of motherhood. She turns away, pacing across the marble in a blur of indignation and pain. You decided who I should love, whose face I should kiss goodnight, whose laughter should echo through this house. Each accusation leaves Bill paler, guilt chiseling his features. Around them, the guests, once so eager to bask in the Whitmore grandeur, now shrink into corners, their whispered speculations a chorus of condemnation. At that moment, Bill's phone buzzes insistently. He glances at the screen and blinks. A message from the nursery. EVA was switched at birth. In vitro lab reports found in storage locker. His breath catches in his throat as the final, irrefutable proof of his betrayal arrives in his palm like a death sentence. No longer can he deny the labyrinth of evidence. He looks at Haley, his defiance drained, leaving only fear of the reckoning to come. Haley, steadied by fresh fury, strides toward the nursery door. I want to see every scrap of paper, every report, she commands. And I want to know who that other woman is. I want her face. I want her name. Bill nods mutely, the weight of his sins at last bearing down. As Haley pushes open the door, the soft glow of the nightlight reveals rows of cribs empty now, for Eva is standing behind her mother, eyes brimming with questions she is too young to ask. The hush in the corridor feels eternal, as though the world itself holds its breath, waiting to see if Haley's shattered trust can ever be pieced back together. Beyond the doors of that nursery lie the answers to a betrayal so vast it threatens to swallow the Whitmore legacy whole. But for Haley, at this moment of shattered certainty, only one thought blazes through her mind. Her daughter was stolen, and she will stop at nothing to reclaim the truth and her rightful child. The morning light filters through the tall windows of Fairmont Crest as Anita Dupree convenes a private meeting with Tracy, Dana, Marisol, and Sharon in the softly carpeted lounge. Each woman carries the weight of yesterday's breakthrough mixed with the tremor of anticipation for what comes next. They sip herbal tea in fine china cups, the steam curling like rising hopes as they map out their plan for the full-scale comeback. Sharon, quieter than the rest, taps a pen against her notebook, suggesting they record each rehearsal and share candid feedback remotely, an acknowledgement that distance and individual growth have changed their dynamic. Dana proposes dedicating time each day to vocal exercises that prioritize mutual support over unilateral perfection, while Marisol insists they rotate leadership roles in rehearsals to prevent any single ego from dominating. Tracy, buoyed by Anita's small gesture of encouragement last night, volunteers to coordinate a wellness circle before each practice, yoga, meditation, laughter exercises, to rebuild not just voices but trust. Anita listens, heart swelling with pride and a cautious relief, yet she can't fully silence the echoing question: will her old drive to outshine her friends tempt her back into the ruthless woman she once was? She commits to verbal affirmations whenever she senses the old fire flicker. Is this about the music or about control? And asks each of her bandmates to call her out if they detect the slightest hint of manipulation. As they rise to embrace one another, the air buzzes with renewed sisterhood. Yet beneath the fragile bonds lies the unspoken truth that this reunion must succeed on their terms, terms defined by equality, empathy, and the knowledge that true harmony requires vulnerability as much as virtuosity. Meanwhile, in a sleek conference room at Richardson and Associates, Kat Richardson sits beside her father, Ted, as they pore over the last tranche of evidence gleaned from Eva's daring retrieval. The dosage logs and hospital memos sit in precise piles, each page a testament to Leslie Thomas's clandestine manipulations. Ted, normally gentle and forgiving, looks grim as Kat outlines her legal strategy: file an emergency motion to freeze all relevant hospital footage, subpoena Leslie's professional correspondence, and secure affidavits from former nurses willing to attest to suspicious behavior. Ted clears his throat, voice wavering. Kat, this is the right thing. But what if Nicole can't forgive me? What if the scars are too deep? Kat reaches across the table, placing her hand over his. We'll guide her through every step, Dad. Truth has a way of freeing people, for better or worse. But we owe her, and ourselves, honesty. Ted nods, eyes moist with resolve, as he prepares to face his wife with the unvarnished reality of Leslie's betrayals. Back at Fairmount Crest, Vernon Dupree contacts a top-tier PR consultant to manage the Articulate's relaunch, negotiating interviews with legacy music magazines and arranging a viral video campaign that frames their story as one of redemption and resilience. Anita reviews a storyboard for a short documentary, candid backstage footage, testimonials from fans who grew up with the group, clips of their charitable work teaching music to underserved youth. She feels a surge of purpose. This is her chance to redefine her legacy not as the ambitious diva, but as a collaborator, a mentor, a woman who used her second chance to lift others. Yet every time she watches herself on camera, old anxieties spark. Is her smile genuine, or is she performing another role? She closes her eyes, breathes, and reminds herself of the schedule they set this morning. Honesty first, applause second. In the Richardson household, Mona Wilson races against time in the dim attic, scanning faded ledgers that reference unmarked vials delivered on peculiar schedules. She cross-references them against hospital inventory lists and finds entries that coincide exactly with nights when nurse staff logged unexplained shortages. Mona's meticulous tracking yields patterns. Leslie's keycard accessed the pharmacy wing at odd hours 7 nights in a row, and on 4 of those nights Laura Peterson's records note delayed lab draws. Mona types up her findings, creating a timeline that dovetails seamlessly with the photographic evidence Jacob captured, evidence now encrypted on a secure server. She sends the compiled dossier to Kat with a note. This will leave her no room to maneuver. Kat thanks her with a quick call, their shared determination anchoring both women against the storm they know is coming. That evening, Jacob Hawthorne paces the sidewalk outside the hospital, phone pressed to his ear as he updates Kat on the success of last night's surveillance. The images are clear, Leslie's ID badge clipped to her scrubs, her face in shadow, but the eyes unmistakable. I've forwarded the raw files to our secure portal. But I intercepted a warning. Someone's scanning the network logs. They know we were there. Kat's voice drops to a whisper. That means Leslie is already shredding. We file the freeze order at dawn. No more delays. Jacob nods, though Kat can't see him. I'll stand by to confirm the court's receipt. And Kat, be careful. When you move on her, she'll strike back. With that ominous charge hanging between them, Jacob slips into the night, determined to protect the evidence and Kat from Leslie's counterstrikes. At Fairmont Crest, the Articulates hold their first filmed rehearsal for the documentary. Cameras roll as Anita, Sharon, Dana, Marisol, and Tracy run through a stripped-down acoustic set in the candlelit ballroom. Their voices, raw and exposed without the usual production flourishes, reverberate against the high ceilings with a haunting beauty. At the end, they collapse onto plush couches, breathless and laughing, as the director praises their authenticity. But when Anita steps off camera, she catches Vernon's worried glance. His hand on her shoulder reminds her that vulnerability is a double-edged sword. She sends her manager a text, focus on music and mission. No more staged Q&As until after premiere. It is a small but crucial boundary, reaffirming her commitment to genuine connection over polished performance. Later that night, Kat and Ted arrive at Nicole Richardson's door, files in hand. Nicole, clad in a simple robe, lets them in with cautious eyes. The hallway light casts long shadows as Ted clears his throat and presents the logs. Nicole, I'm so sorry you had to find out this way. Leslie manipulated everything, and I didn't look closely enough until now. He lays out the timeline, piece by piece, the nights Leslie visited the ward, the missing documentation, the altered lab results. Nicole's face shifts from confusion to disbelief to righteous anger as she flips through the pages. Kat stands beside her father, ready to provide legal context. When Nicole finally looks up, tears shimmer in her eyes. I trusted both of you, she whispers. You took advantage of that trust. Ted's shoulders slump. I know, but I will spend every day I have rebuilding it. Please let me prove it. Nicole exhales slowly. Show me the footage. And I want answers from Leslie first. Kat pulls out her phone, ready to share the images Jacob captured, steeling herself for her mother's inevitable wrath. High above Fairmont Crest, in the quiet seclusion of her private study, Leslie Thomas receives an encrypted alert, emergency freeze order filed. All FRMC footage locked. Her lips curve into a chill smile as she taps a small ashtray, crushing her cigarette. Around her, the plush wallpaper and antique medical texts seem to close in, but she stands unruffled. She retrieves a black leather folder from her desk. Inside, copies of a non-disclosure agreement she coerced staff into signing years ago, plus an off-the-books audio recording of a hospital board meeting hinting at financial incentives for data erasure. With swift efficiency, she drafts a draft legal memo to her own counsel, arguing that any restriction on the hospital's data violates their privacy obligations. Then, for insurance, she calls a trusted former colleague, one adept at manufacturing plausible deniability. Prepare Plan B, she instructs. If they expose me, I'll need someone to take the fall. And make sure the board hears about a breach of my personal files. I want them scrambling to protect me, not Kat. She closes her laptop, the quiet click echoing like a pistol's final shot. As midnight approaches, the stage is set for the next wave of conflicts. Anita and her sisters-in-song steel themselves for the media blitz of their relaunch, determined to honor the protective boundaries they established and to use their platform for good. Kat, Ted, and Nicole brace for the legal battle overtaking the Richardson family, united by truth but wary of Leslie's ruthless countermoves. Eva, torn between the mother who raised her and the mother she has yet to meet, sleeps fitfully, dreams haunted by half-remembered lullabies and the promise of answers at dawn. Sharon polishes her harmonies in solitude, each note a meditation on forgiveness. Dana and Marisol craft the charitable framework for their comeback, eager to transform personal redemption into community empowerment. And Tracy, strengthened by the bonds she once feared broken beyond repair, journals her hopes for tomorrow. In the stillness before dawn, two families stand on converging paths, one bound by music's healing power, the other by the unassailable need for justice. Each group carries secrets like embers, ready to ignite the skies with revelations, some that will console, some that will scorch. And as the first sunbeams breach the horizon, Fairmont Crest and the Richardson townhouse alike brace for the reckoning that will define their futures, knowing that beyond these gates lie choices that cannot be undone, alliances that must withstand the fiercest storms, and the possibility of transformation for those brave enough to embrace it.